Matt Lauer has been terminated from NBC News.
This morning, a bombshell announcement about NBC Today show co-anchor Matt Lauer.
As I'm sure you can imagine, we are devastated and we are still processing all of this.
The anchorman who'd been welcomed into America's living rooms for more than 20 years, accused of sexual misconduct, cut from the airwaves after one woman came forward with an allegation of sexual misconduct by Lauer.
This is a very tough morning for both of us.
Now late today, an explosive article by Variety describing alleged patterns of lewd behavior by Lauer. According to Variety, Lauer allegedly once gave a colleague a sex toy as a present and included an explicit note. Another female employee reportedly claims he summoned her to his office and then dropped his pants, and that he was known for making off-color comments verbally and over text messages. And tonight, the New York Times reports that 2 more women have come forward with allegations of misconduct by the legendary newsman.
I'm heartbroken for Matt, and I'm heartbroken for the brave colleague who came forward to tell her story, and any other women who have their own stories to tell. And we are grappling with a dilemma that so many people have faced these past few weeks. How do you reconcile your love for someone with the revelation that they have behaved badly? And I don't know the answer to that.
In a statement, NBC Chairman Andrew Lack said, "On Monday night, we received a detailed complaint from a colleague about inappropriate sexual behavior in the workplace by Matt Lauer. It represented, after serious review, a clear violation of our company's standards. As a result, we've decided to terminate his employment." While it is the first complaint about his behavior in the over 20 years he's been at NBC News, we were also presented with reason to believe this may not have been an isolated incident. His co-workers, past and present today, in a state of shock.
I see the anguish on my colleagues' faces. But when this happens, what we don't see is the pain on the faces of those who found the courage to come forward. And it is a terrifying thing to do.
This was really hard for me to hear because I grew up at the Today Show. No one gets a pass. This behavior is never okay. I personally had such great experiences with Matt, and he was someone that cheerleaded for me and supported me.
Former co-anchor Ann Curry, who was famously ousted from the Today Show, told People magazine she's still processing. The battle lines are now clear. We need to move this revolution forward and make our workplaces safe. Corporate America is quite clearly failing to do so. And unless it does something to change that, we need to keep doing more ourselves. While so many are voicing support for the victims, others are offering compassion for Lauer.
And I don't feel that Matt has betrayed us. I texted him this morning and said, I adore you. And no person is perfect in this world. Nobody is. We've all sinned and fallen short of the glory of God, is what Scripture says. Yeah.
Today in that Variety article, 3 women coming forward as victims of alleged sexual misconduct by Lauer.
These are very serious allegations and very sensitive materials.
Elizabeth Wagmeister is one of the writers of the report.
When the Harvey Weinstein story broke, of course, a number of names came out, and we just kept hearing, you've got to look into Matt Lauer. Of course, rumors have followed Matt Lauer for years. There's a lot of tabloid reports about his behavior, but we heard that it was a bit deeper.
The Variety report states that Lauer's alleged misconduct was not a secret among other employees at Today. Several women told Variety their complaints to management about Lauer fell on deaf ears. In response, NBC said, "We can say unequivocally that prior to Monday night, current NBC News management was never made aware of any complaints about Matt Lauer's conduct," the spokesperson said. As for the accuser who went to NBC News Monday with her attorney.
Good morning. Welcome to Today and to Sochi, Russia on a Wednesday morning. I'm Matt Lauer.
NBC News says the alleged inappropriate sexual behavior started at the 2014 Olympics in Sochi and continued for months after the games. The accuser's attorney said in a statement, "My client and I met with representatives from NBC's Human Resources and Legal departments at 6 p.m. on Monday for an interview that lasted several hours. Our impression at this point is that NBC acted quickly, as all companies should, when confronted with credible allegations of sexual misconduct in the workplace. I am in awe of the courage my client showed to be the first to raise a complaint and to do so without making any demands other than the company do the right thing."
It's very difficult to come forward against a very rich, famous, powerful supervisor or someone at her place of employment who might have influence.
Powerhouse lawyer Gloria Allred has helped give voice to so many women who say they've been abused by other high-profile men.
A host of a major television show, a morning show, has to maintain a certain image. If the host's brand as a squeaky clean host is tarnished by his own conduct, he becomes a liability to the network.
And tonight, the tree lighting at Rockefeller Center went on without him.
Yeah, once again, a really large crowd here gathered in Rockefeller Center for this annual event, the lighting of the Christmas tree. Traditionally, Matt Lauer is part of the event. He was scheduled to be once again this year until his termination earlier today.
Lauer has been a staple of the NBC holiday season.
Good morning, everyone. Happy Thanksgiving.
Just last week, hosting the annual Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade, known for his travels around the world.
Where in the world is Matt Lauer?
And his contentious interviews, like this one with Tom Cruise back in 2005.
Aren't there examples where it works?
Matt, you don't even, you're glib.
And more recently with the 2016 presidential candidates.
And they wonder about your temperament.
A very special Monday morning for our friend Matt Lauer.
From that first Today Show episode over 20 years ago, Lauer quickly rose to stardom, later becoming one of the highest paid television news anchors in history.
This is the face of the Today Show, and he's gone. Matt Lauer is, in terms of a power list of major media figures, within the top 5, within the top 3.
But now he joins a different list, media giants to fall from grace in a story now all too familiar.
I look at that picture and I have a sickening feeling of deja vu, certainly because we're dealing with our own situation here, but it does send the message and shows that you are not too big to fall.
Just last week, CBS This Morning co-anchor Charlie Rose was also fired after multiple accusations of sexual misconduct. Lauer now joins the ranks of disgraced media giants. Charlie Rose, Fox News CEO Roger Ailes, commentator and former Fox host Bill O'Reilly, Harvey Weinstein, and former MSNBC contributor Mark Halperin, once the political director here at ABC.
Growing controversy surrounding broadcaster and journalist Charlie Rose.
Little did he know that his own reporting would soon seem like a self-fulfilling prophecy.
You were probably the last guy in the world that they wanted to fire because you were the guy that the ratings and the revenues were built on. You carried that network on your shoulders for a lot of years. So doesn't it seem safe to assume that the people at Fox News were given a piece of information or given some evidence that simply made it impossible for you to stay on at Fox News?
That's a false assumption. There were a lot of other business things in play at that time and still today.
When Matt Lauer interviewed Bill O'Reilly about his sexual harassing history, there had to have been a lot of snickers and a lot of perhaps soul searching among staff at that program.
Think about those 5 women and what they did. They came forward and filed complaints against the biggest star at the network they worked at. Think of how intimidating that must have been, how nerve-wracking that must have been. Doesn't that tell you how strongly they felt about the way they were treated by you?
The O'Reilly accusations came as part of a tidal wave of change that began last year.
Growing claims against Fox News chief Roger Ailes.
Former Fox News anchor Gretchen Carlson sued her former boss, the late Roger Ailes, and Fox News for sexual harassment in 2016, walking away with a $20 million settlement.
After my story broke 16 months ago and all these women started reaching out to me, I realized how pervasive the problem was. And it was really crossing every socioeconomic line and every profession, from waitresses to Wall Street bankers to members of our military and everyone in between.
Since then, women from all walks of life have come forward with their own stories, marching together to end the silence. The hashtag #MeToo movement was born. But on Capitol Hill, change is not so swift. From Al Franken to John Conyers to Roy Moore to the president himself, all accused of sexual misconduct, all still hanging on to power. This morning, President Trump tweeted, "Wow, Matt Lauer was just fired from NBC for inappropriate sexual behavior in the workplace. But when will the top executives at NBC and Comcast be fired for putting out so much fake news?"
No politician has lost his job in this recent wave, despite some very high-profile allegations. The biggest difference is that they don't really have bosses. Congress reports to itself and sets its own rules to police itself and is notoriously bad at doing so.
Consequences or not, some have called the wave of public attention to sexual misconduct a reckoning.
This power differential has now shifted. We are going to assert our power. We are empowered. And the fact that these people are famous but have hurt us, we're just not going to live in fear anymore.
Tonight, Lauer remains silent, still offering no comment on the allegations. For Nightline, I'm Lindsay Davis in New York.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.